Hey book besties! I feel so weird filming this video because I'm going to be talking about the worst books that I read in 2022, aka books that I was really excited for but they just let me down. Putting out a huge disclaimer here, books are completely subjective. I might like a book that you don't like and I may not like a book that you love, which is one thing I really love about reading and the book community is that everyone's opinions are so different and everyone's reading experiences are so different to one another, and I think that is so cool. If any of the books that I mentioned in this video happen to be some of your favorites or books that you actually love, just know that this is literally my opinions and experiences reading those books. Like, it is so awesome if you love these books. Obviously everyone's entitled to their own opinions of books they read, as long as they obviously don't put down other people for reading books that they don't personally like, if that makes sense. Anyways, I'm going off on a tangent that is very unnecessary, but welcome to the worst aka most disappointing books that I read in 2022, and welcome to my week of bookish videos where I post a video every day for 5 days this week. And without further ado, because I've been rambling for way too long, let's get into this video. Starting off, we've got The Heir and The Crown. These two books are sequels from the Selection series. I loved the first 3 Selection books. It was so good, but these two books definitely did not live up to the original Selection series. I just really didn't like the characters in this one. So these two books follow, I guess, the next generation that follows from the Selection, and yeah, the princess in this book was just really annoying and I didn't really enjoy it, but I did like the little sprinkles of the OG characters in it. But overall, these two books were a whole miss for me. I really wish I didn't read these. Then we've got Maybe Someday by Colleen Hoover. The main reason I didn't like this book is the fact that I did not ship the two characters Sydney and Ridge together. There was a huge trope surrounding their relationship which just did not work for me. It is really cool in the sense that there is an original soundtrack that accompanies this book and there is deaf representation, which I think is really cool because I've never read a book that has deaf representation in it. But I just did not like the tropes in this book, and I also found our main female character Sydney to be very hypocritical, so I really hated her character. Another Colleen Hoover book that I read this year that I really did not enjoy was Layla. I think this one was my least favorite Coho book. This was just so weird. I did not enjoy it. I was a little bit confused at some points and it was just strange in the worst way possible. Then we've got Window Shopping by Tessa Bailey. This book was all spice, no plot. Didn't really enjoy this one. Was really bored. I didn't really care about the characters. The main male character in this book was really annoying and yeah, didn't like this one. As Seen on TV by Meredith Shaw. This was probably the most disappointing read of 2022. Was really excited to read this for the Gilmore Girls vibes. But the only Gilmore Girls vibes there are in this book is the Gilmore Girls references. Like, that is it. There's no vibes in this book. The spice was really cringy. The characters were annoying. The plot was kind of boring. The whole book as a whole was just a complete miss for me. I really did not enjoy this one. The rest of the books I don't own because I actually borrowed them from the library, so luckily I was able to return them. Next one we have is a very controversial one because it's very popular on BookTube and BookTok, and that is Beach Read by Emily Henry. This book was just not my cup of tea. It was just too slow for me. I wasn't really too big on the writing as well. I really struggled to push through this book. I almost DNF'd it, but I pushed through. I read it and it still was just not it for me. This was also really disappointing because I was so excited because of all the hype, but it just did not live up to my expectations. Survive the Night by Riley Sager. The concept of this book was so interesting. It's basically like a thriller that is set in one night and it's set in a motor vehicle. It was really cool because I was like, oh, this is going to be so interesting. It's going to be so much tension. It was not. I just wanted the book to be over and I did not enjoy it. What Are We Doing About Zoya by Anisha Bhatia. The main reason I didn't like this book was because of all the fat phobia surrounding this book, and throughout the entire book I just kept thinking, what exactly is the plot of this book? What is the genre? Because there was no plot. It's classified as a romance, but like there's literally no romance in there. It was just very, very boring. Art of Love by Hazel Hayes. I thought this book was going to be so cool because it's a reverse love story. So you get the couple's relationship breaking up at the start of the book, and then you go back in time to the very first day they met. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've never read a book like this. It's going to be so cool. It wasn't really that interesting. I mean, it's really hard to kind of root for the main characters if you already get the reason as to why they broke up at the start of the book. So it just was a complete miss for me. Pug Actually by Matt Dunn. This one was a rom-com and it was actually told completely from the dog's perspective, which was the only good thing about this book. Other than that, I hated the female main character. She was so annoying and she just kept justifying cheating, and that was just so frustrating as a reader for me. I hated this book. Like the only thing that I liked about this book was the dog. 10 Things My Cat Hates About You by Lottie Lucas. When I picked this book up initially, I was expecting more cat content. There wasn't really much cat content. The love triangle in this book was really weird and it was just boring. The Party by Robin Harding. This book almost made me not want to pick up any of Robin Harding's books because it was so awful. I could not stand a single character. I wasn't rooting for anyone. I wasn't really on any side. The plot just felt a little bit repetitive. And the party setting, I was kind of expecting that to be a huge chunk of the book, but it was only like maybe a few pages of the book. So I was like, oh, and the rest was like the after effects of the party. The Naughty or Nice Clause by Kate Callahan. I remember when I first read this synopsis in my, I think it was my November TBR video, I was like, oh, this is gonna be so good because it's got all the tropes that I love. Like it's small town, enemies to lovers, workplace romance, grumpy sunshine. Like it had everything that I normally love in a book, but the book did not feel like a romance book. I was like, where is the romance? Where is the chemistry? I don't ship these two characters at all. And it was like pulling teeth to finish this book, which was so disappointing because I was so excited for this one. Somewhere Under the Stars by Catherine Ferguson. I really didn't enjoy this book. It was so boring. I was like, this was such a waste of time the entire time I was reading it. And the very last book on this list is The Book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James. Honestly, I really liked the first half of the book. The first half of this book was so good, but I feel like the second half just like completely let me down because the book could honestly have scrapped part 2. If there was no part 2 and there was only the part 1, I would think I would have probably enjoyed the book a lot more, but part 2 completely ruined it for me because it was so unnecessary and a waste of time to read. So I was really frustrated with that. I feel like I went through that list really quickly, but that is all the disappointing books that I read in 2022. Again, as I mentioned, this is my own opinion of the book. Your reading experience may be completely different to mine, but if you guys enjoyed watching this video, please give it a huge thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel down below. I post new videos every week, and don't forget, this week is a week of uploads, so I hope you guys enjoyed all this extra content this week. I have never done a week of uploads before, but this has been so much fun. Follow me on all my social medias. I'll have everything linked down below, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!